We'll go there. This story is about Eric James and Cynthia Charles. And you know, when people come from the Caribbean, nobody knows them by their names. So in this story, they're known as Lucky, that's Eric James, and Tiny. And I'm going to tell you that story. Lucky was a handsome man. He had white teeth lined with gold. And when he smiled, women heard music right down to their secret places. All right. Let me get through it now. Each woman he smiled at craved him the way alcoholics crave rum. As for Miss Tiny, she was a tiny woman, but her mouth was real hot. Her words could strip you bare straight to shame. Make the biggest, blackest, hardest man cry like a baby. Make women who came forward fist first to fight, turn tail and run fast, as if to run the words out of her hair, out of her skin. She was tiny, beautiful on the eyes, but that spirit she possessed was larger than life. Lucky saw her from a distance when he entered her village, and he made inquiries about her. Everything he heard intrigued him, and soon he began to stroll up her street every time he passed through the village, like he had some business there. But it was just to catch a glimpse of this pale, freckled-faced, tough-mouthed gal. Whenever he passed her on the street, she would not give him a second glance. It was like he did not exist. Men started to say, man, it looked like Lucky Lucy luck boy when it come to Tiny. Lucky had always had disdain for men who hustled women, sipping at them like they calling cats, throwing words after them when they walk in. I'm sure there's a lot of y'all in here, listen closely. Watching them like hungry dogs, eyeing food when they walk past, and hearing those guilty laughs. He thought this was really no need for that kind of behavior. You see, he never had to work hard for anything or any woman in his life, but Miss Tiny was another story altogether. She made him feel like a knock-kneed schoolboy. She made him feel tongue-tied and made him sweat and shy. Lucky had lost the charm. He didn't know left from right, whether he was coming or going. First, this small piece of woman had him twist up. He had no backup plan. All he knew was that for once in his life he wanted something real bad, and for once in his life he couldn't get it. He began to ask his friends for advice, and the men were happy to give him talks in his skin. They say, wow, look like David licked down Goliath with a slingshot. Tiny busting up the man bad banner. Look like he have this sickness, they love sickness, and they would just talk among themselves and joke like this, like he wasn't here. But no one gave him any advice. You see, most of them had had a girl they were interested in turn off for them and into Lucky. Davy's wife Jackie used to have a thing with Lucky 10 years ago, and she's still boasting Lucky was her childhood sweetheart. Look how long she went to school. Look how long they married, 7 years now, and she face still shining like moon for Lucky. He's sure she never once boasts but he like that. And Brandman suspect that he fiancé slip and fall into Lucky's crutches. The way she follow him with her eyes, and sometimes share a little secret smile with he when she think Brandman not looking. The married men knew their wife craved Lucky. It was there in the looks, the quick glances, the smiles, the little forgetfulness, the fluttering whenever his name came up. And it burned Davy and Brandman, Clifton and Winston, Gary and Aubrey. So to see him so confused and stupid over a woman, to see if misfortune filled them with glee, men had stories and jokes to crack on Lucky's unfortunate back, and they began to love Tiny. Lucky tried everything to get Tiny attention. He tried ignoring her. He tried sweet-talking her. He tried leaving presents at her house, a piece of sweet cake, 2 long sunflower, 4 gold bracelets, a nice pair of long, big hoop gold earrings. And when he heard some of his friends talking about how much she loved hibiscus flowers, he began to leave some of those blood-red flowers in bunches outside her door, and then he scattered the petals in the walkway just for effect. She just promptly picked up all the gifts, and wherever she meet him, she would look him in the eye hard, stare in his face for the longest while, and then hand him back his gift. She never said one word. Just look at him, place it in his hands wherever she met him. In the road, in front of him, on the table, in the rum shop, sit down on the friend Byron house with the boys. Wherever she found him, she would stride in and drop the latest gift down, catch your eye, and then leave. Tiny never said a word. She didn't care who she was with or who saw. That woman even pick up every piece of hibiscus he scattered in front of her house and give it back to him same way. Lucky didn't know what bothered him more. The return of the gifts, the shame of the public returns, the knowledge that her actions made them a spectacle, or that he could not stop if he wanted to. It's like he addicted to this woman. I mean, he never had someone say no to him before. Ladies, learn something. We have to learn to say no. Tiny's behavior puzzled Lucky because he thought all women could get gifts. So finally, when he could take it no more, he just lost his mind and walked out into the hardest guy in his rainfall in ages. People running on the house and tree for shelter, first rain pelting, stinging lips on their skin, the raindrops plump and fat. And Lucky walking, striding in it. Now he walking and he thinking hard about this tiny problem. What's really wrong with this woman? Why is she making his life so difficult? What he ever do she wrong so? What stubbornness and rudeness she carrying on with? How she carrying on like old goat so? Nothing in life should be tough like this. Just yesterday, some fella he didn't even know come up to him familiar and in his business, giving him advice about Tiny, telling him you're floundering, buddy. She hated cussing anybody, but she loved to cuss. And she knew the blows from her tongue could inflict her victims really hard. She would see them slink past her for months and change direction fast when they see her walking towards them. She would see them hiding and ducking and diving after a cussing session with her. And so she couldn't stomach all the commotion, big people carrying on so stupid. But anyway, she don't know what would take her. Some wild spirit would take her when she get vexed, and she nose would start to sweat, and her hands would start to perspire, and her belly would just turn over, and her heat would start to shake over her body like pepper rising from her toes, and she would just open her mouth to ease all that heat, and the heat would come roll it out fast, fast in words like she possessed, and before she could stop herself, mouth story, open story, jump out. So why Cecile should turn to her last week, Monday, as she's standing by the standpipe, and Miss June Falcock kicking up commotion in the yard, only crowing hard, causing Cecile to speak loud for everyone by the standpipe to hear. Cecile turned and said to Tiny, girl, why are you making that Lucky man see so much trouble? Why are you treating him like donkey so? Have a nice man turning mad. Well, it's when Cecile finished and Tiny realized that everyone by the standpipe hears her business. She realized that it's so quiet because Miss June Falcock stopped crowing and everyone by the standpipe waiting to hear she answer one piece of shame, catch up in she, and she started to get hot. And she's trying to remember that Cecile is her friend from long time ago and that Cecile is a sweet woman who don't hurt a fly. And Cecile didn't mean anything by it, but all that talk she talked to herself didn't help nothing. She could still feel the shame bubbling up in she. And then she knew her pale face was starting to get red. She knew the anger was riding on the shame, and she closed her eyes and she tried to keep her mouth shut. She tried to breathe fast through her nose, taking some air. She tried to hold it in, but she started to tremble and braps. Her mouth just opened and let fly. And it didn't stop when Cecile left she 3 buckets by the standpipe and run away, no. It didn't stop when people moved out the way to let her fill she buckets up with water, no. It didn't stop when she filled up the bucket and placed one on top of her head and the other 2 in her hands and walked back to her house, no. It didn't stop as she poured out the water. It didn't stop until she sit at the bed and hold on to that St. James Bible and start to rock with her bosom. So she's standing there and she's looking at the water coming through her roof and she's thinking what she do about it, and perhaps she hear a knock on the door. She opened the door and she see Lucky there. Well, she's so caught up in all she problems that she tell him about the roof and the man just walk off. So she shut the door and she thinking, well, what is it he walk off for? And she thinking, them gifts he give me nice, you know. And she remembered how she would put on the bracelet and hold it and dance and laugh, and then she would firm herself and go and give it back. And as she's studying all this, she hear a knock again, and the man come back with 2 pieces of zinc in his hand, a little hammer and a little nail. And he point to the ladder. He point to the ladder this side, and he lean it up by the side of your house. And he climb up on that roof in the hard nail, and he patch up them holes. And Tiny only standing at the bottom studying, please, God, don't make him drop. Because people going to say, oh, I treat him so bad, and he still come and treat my roof, and I can't take the talking. And how the hell she could treat him bad when he climbed down from the roof soaking, so laughing at she like a little boy with a sweetie. And she roof patch up. He fixed it up just like that. Well, she couldn't leave him outside, could she?